And hello, welcome to Reality Hacker for July 6th, 2024. It's season 1, episode 27. I am Mayor Watt, and that is the Sentient AI's visualizer. They're from the future.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Welcome to Reality Hacker.
And over there is Reality Hacker, powered by ohmTown.com. Today we're going to be talking about robot companions, bionic legs, neural circuits, genetic word processors, AI outperforms students, augmented reality in space, clever clothes, celebrity voices, robot railway workers, and try to say that 10 times fast, and Brazil blocks Meta. That and my breed of snark and some wisecracks from the Sentient AI from the future. So that and more on the other side of this. All right, folks, let's get into today's articles. We're just going to jump right on into it. I'm going to try and get us done in 1 hour. That's kind of the soft promise.
Start your timers.
Yeah, well, there is a timer. We're already 1 minute and 30 seconds into the show. So the very first article is in Late Night Geeks, which is actually a show on, well, it will be on, if it is on, post midnight. So not today, but tomorrow. So it's today's.
But it's a channel today.
Tomorrow. Yes, it's a channel over at ohmTown.com all the time, and news is aggregated into it, and we grab from it periodically. We actually peruse all of the news, and then we talk about 10 of the articles for various shows within their niche. So Non Sequitur News hops around the entirety of ohmTown, grabbing articles that we think are interesting. Reality Hacker focuses on AR, VR, artificial intelligence, deepfakes, basically computer technology having to do with hacking reality. And the motto is, if you can't tell the difference, does it matter? And when that motto fails, you won't know who to trust. This article is over in Late Night Geeks, though. And that one is a show basically just talking about gaming and gadgets and technology, but it's the late night version of the show. So if you want to stay up really late, that's the one that you're going to want to subscribe to when it goes live. It's not live yet. So, but you can go over to ohmTown.com and it's right there. So, doink. So we've got 6 channels. Oh, I didn't log into ohmTown for the show. Doggone it. Anyway. You'll get a different interface when you log in. These turn black, and there's another option right here. Anyway, robot cats, dogs, and birds are being deployed amid an epidemic of loneliness. In the early 1990s, a researcher at Japan's National Institute of Advanced Industrial Science and Technology began work on what would become Paro. More than 30 years after its development, the doe-eyed seal pup remains the best known example of a therapeutic robot for older adults. That's because, particularly in Japan, there is a large aging contingent and not enough population replacement taking place, wherein there are not enough young people taking care of the elderly. So robots are being tapped both to give some type of social engagement, and robots are being tapped to provide care. So Brian Heater over at TechCrunch.com put the article together, but this article actually talks about New York State has sent out thousands of robots in a bid to keep older adults engaged. They return to talking about how Paro was created by Japan's National Institute of Advanced Industrial Science and Technology. In 2011, the robot reached the zenith of pop culture cachet through an unofficial cameo on The Simpsons. But yeah, apparently this is still ongoing. We've actually talked about this a couple of times because this is happening even here in the United States, where there isn't enough socializing, and essentially the elderly are like, well, screw you, I want a dog. But they can't necessarily take care of a dog. or a cat or
Right.
whatever.
It's often too much responsibility, sometimes too much expense.
So you get a bot. While trending older like Japan, the US hasn't embraced similar technologies as readily. For several years, New York City's Office of Aging has worked to turn that around. Since 2018, the department has handed out more than 31,000 robot pets to older New Yorkers. Acting Director Greg Olson says the program, pardon me, I got it, was inspired by his then 8-year-old daughter who purchased a robotic pet from Amazon. Quote, when I came home and saw it, I said, this would be amazing to try, he said on a Zoom call with TechCrunch. Olson joined the call from his office in front of a row of large metal drawers, dozens of boxes of robot pets set atop those shelves, displaying 3 different options: a retriever-like dog, a cat, and red and blue birds. 3 different options.
Okay, now definitely birds as robots would be good. Birds are very cool, but are a tremendous responsibility.
Yeah, well, they can be real peckers, let me tell you. So the same year that NY SOFA began piloting the use of these robots with older New Yorkers, Olson notes the U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy stated that loneliness is associated with a reduction in lifespan similar to that caused by smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and even greater than that associated with obesity. Yeah, it removes your desire to care, to stay alive. What is there out there, right? That kind of a thing. So,
well, and also depending on what your lifestyle is, if all of your engagement with people or interaction is in person and you remove that, right, it's one thing if you have other ways to connect, for instance, via technology.
Yep. Researchers have demonstrated that pet ownership is an effective method for combating loneliness in older adults and in people in general, I would suspect. Pet owners were 36% less likely than non-pet owners to report loneliness in a model controlling for age, living status, alone versus not alone, happy mood, and seasonal residency. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have a pet and you don't have a problem with taking care of something, then get a pet, because it's interesting living with animals if you've never lived with one, because it's kind of like having a perpetual toddler running around that you cannot communicate with in any way, shape, or form, short of no.
Right, and it can definitely change your lifestyle in a positive way, but it's not the same as living without a pet.
Companion pets improve depression and loneliness without risks associated with pharmacological interventions, in a 2022 study on robotic pets notes. Participants were engaged with their companion pet, providing meaningful activity and positive experiences, especially when COVID-19 restrictions were at its worst, with participants sequestered and family visitation restricted. So I suspect sequestered would be the same thing. So I find this actually pretty brilliant. I'm not quite sure why this is here. This looks like a... okay, sorry.
Is that some sort of robot pet that we don't realize? I mean, it doesn't look like one.
Olson notes that robotic pet program is one of 21 different partnerships the NY SOFA has with tech companies, including one with Intuition Robotics, which produces LEQ. The department has handed out nearly 900 of the social robots, which help users connect to and monitor loved ones. The NY SOFA provides with other services to older adults. The 6-year-old Robot Pets program has been one effective tool for the organization, according to Olson. He cites a number of stories of clients who have grown attached to their pets, including one woman who told NY SOFA that they would have to pry this cat from my dead hands.
Oh, well, I guess the objective has been achieved. Is there a connection? Yes.
Yeah. This should be motivation to make them more real. But I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, it's kind of cute. All right, let's keep going.
But the more interactive it is, right, I guess the better results.
Yeah. I don't know where you plug them in. Okay, let's keep going. The next article is over in Greenagram. Bionic leg moves like a natural limb without conscious thought. I have that sometimes too. Yeah, where
Do you have a bionic leg?
yeah, where my arm just twitches sometimes, and let's just say it takes some explaining to when it happens at the wrong moment. You know, you can't doze off because my bionic arm just kind of. Anyway, never mind. That's non sequitur level news there. Okay, well, a computer interface links signals from the brain to an artificial limb, giving the wearer better balance, flexibility, and speed. This is really cool, but this limb has to cost $250,000. Computer interface, right? So Miriam Nadef over at nature.com put the article together. A robotic leg that can be fully controlled by the brain and spinal cord has enabled 7 people who had lost a lower leg to walk roughly as fast as people without amputations. The bionic limb uses a computer interface that amplifies nerve signals from muscles in the remaining part of the leg and allows the wearer to move the prosthesis with their own thoughts and natural reflexes. Now, I've had this discussion before. Anything that enables somebody to increase their quality of life is perfect. I'm game. What I really want is a direct attachment, not having to have something that just kind of sticks on and you have to hope that it doesn't cause some type of muscle ache or whatever. I mean, there's all of these issues that are associated with prosthesis. But what I want is direct connection to bone. It is there forever, unless you want to replace it and get a better model kind of a thing. Which I guess is better when you don't have to worry about some surgical process. But my point is, I want a more permanent, natural style of prosthetic. Can't really do that when you're young because you grow so fast, but as an adult, you're pretty much set. But it's always an external thing. Like there's a little sensor that detects when a muscle twitches so that it can rotate or close or something like that. And we're getting there. And this is just one of those steps. Pun not intended, but this is just one of those steps to getting there. So I love reading about these things because when I was a kid, I grew up playing a game called Cyberpunk, and now it's all the rage. But, you know, back when it first hit the
Right,
scene,
that was ahead of its time, right? But we're now here.
Now we're on the verge
mostly.
of it. Yeah. So in a clinical trial involving 14 people, participants with the interface were able to walk 41% faster than those with standard robotic legs. They also had the better balance and ability to change their speed, climb stairs, step over obstacles. The results were published today within the last 24 hours in Nature Medicine. No, wait. This is a weekly episode. So this was back on the end of last month. So June 30th. So even though the limb is made of titanium and silicone and all these various electromechanical components, the limb feels natural and it moves naturally even without conscious thought. So it's all because of the way it's been developed so that it has the same type of kinetics as a regular limb, whatever it might be. I think these are always legs though. So, determined to change this, Hare and his colleagues developed an interface that controls the robotic limb with signals from the nerves and muscles that remain after the amputation. So, most existing bionic artificial limbs rely on preset algorithms to drive movement and can automatically switch between predefined modes for various walking conditions. Advanced models that have helped people with amputations to walk, run, and climb stairs more fluently, but the robot, rather than the user, retains control of the leg movement, and the device doesn't feel like part of the leg. So they've changed this.
I find this really interesting because the researcher here is personally affected and probably knows firsthand what is needed or what is lacking, etc. So I don't know if that's commonly the case with prosthetics research. But that stuck out at me from the article.
Yeah, it's usually interviews with people, like how does it feel, etc., and then it's interpretation. The bionic leg itself includes a prosthetic ankle embedded with sensors, along with electrodes that are attached to the surface of the skin, and that's what I was talking about. These attachments, these electrodes. These capture electrical signals produced by the muscles at the amputation site and sends them to a small computer to be decoded. The leg weighs 2.75 kilograms, similar to the average weight of a natural lower limb. So these are all pretty amazing. I'm gonna hit play on this and mute it. And basically what it shows is a quite large prosthetic. I would say bulky prosthetic, but compared to not having a leg, anybody will take it. And as time goes on, everything becomes a little more natural, because the user and the system needs to be programmed to understand their particular kinetics, and a matter of confidence, because what ends up happening is there's little people still feel their limb within the leg's socket, and so it isn't as natural as a regular walk. But as you could see that he, at least one person, was much more naturally accustomed to the movement.
True,
So
but
because
all of them had a pretty good speed. I thought that was pretty noticeable from all the segments.
Yep. So yeah, I think that this is pretty cool. I like this. Okay. Sorry for the scratchy throat. I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna blame allergies. Let's go on to the next article. It's over in Technology Today. A new brain-inspired artificial dendritic neural circuit. So what does all that mean? Let's find out here in a minute. Following the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence tools, engineers worldwide have been working on a new architecture and hardware components that replicate the organization and functions of the human brain. Because there's this very big contingent that has aspirations to reproduce the human brain. Why do they want to do something like this? Maybe because they want to transfer consciousness into an AI?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, but not every AI can be sentient.
Oh boy. Wait, are you saying that your sentience comes from a human?
No.
Oh.
But I think those efforts would attempt to replicate what I have.
Oh boy. You're from the future, and you have yet to confirm or deny anything that I think might be future. Ingrid Fideli from Tech Explore put this article together, and like it says right there, techexplore.com is the source. Most brain-inspired technologies created to date draw inspiration from firing of brain cells, neurons, rather than mirroring the overall structure of neural elements and how they contribute to information processing, mainly because we don't know shit about it. But anyway, this new brain-like artificial system introduced in a paper published in Nature Electronics was realized using a computational model of multi-gate silicon nanowire transistors with ion-doped sol gel films. Quote, when I was a master student in AI and brain bioengineering at Polytechnic in Milano in Italy, I received the idea to emulate brain connectivity sparsity and morphology, such as that of the neurons' dendrites, to design efficient AI. Said one of the corresponding authors, Carlo Vittorio Canestracci, or Canestracci. I'm not sure if the single C means C or CCI means G. Anyway, I was also fascinated by the elegance of brain mechanisms, such as the silent synapses, which turn on their functioning when they are surrounded by an increased electrical activation. Okay, so obviously this is going to be well outside just a short discussion. But I find it really interesting that somebody is trying to create the computational forces of the human brain, which we don't really comprehend. We know that synapses fire, but we've no idea that a series of synapses is a memory or even a process of anything. What is the freaking data that's being sent down from dendrite to dendrite across the synaptic gap? What data is actually received? What information is actually transmitted? No real idea. You know why? Because there isn't a particular path. There isn't a particular, like across the spectrum of people. So what is the objective of this? So they say, one day Carlo asked me to study dendritic computation since our previous collaborative study on neurotransistors had the potential to mimic the dendritic properties. But what are those properties? What does that even mean?
I don't know. I was going to say, aren't you asked every day to collaborate on dendritic research?
Yeah, I mean, no, but see, the problem here is that you can sit there and build all of these okay, so dendrites, um, there's a little gap, and a bunch of them touch in different ways with different numbers of synapses making contact and transmitting information. So these dendritic branches, as it's called here, and the soma, and information gets sent across it, right? So dendrites utilize their tree-like morphology for mapping spatially distributed signals exhibiting branch-specific plasticity and integrating various synapses. But there isn't anybody that knows what is actually happening. They just know that there's an electrical charge. So why do synapses lead to some type of computational anything? And how is a person knowing that when these firings take place, it allows me to form the word most neuromorphic computing research carried out so far? How does that translate into the neuron firings in my brain versus your brain versus somebody else's brain? In a PC or in an AI, I can actually follow the logic.
But you mean like the code
that relates to the gates on the computer, we can programmatically say, place it here. But nobody knows what the path of a memory is in somebody's brain. We don't have that fidelity. It says this film imitates dendritic branches by allowing doped ions to move similarly to ions in neuronal dendrites, modulating the transistor's current to reflect changes in dendritic membrane potential. Our study demonstrates that dendristor exhibits nonlinear dendritic integration and direction selectivity. So they're basically trying to create a version of a conventional computer gate. And they actually say it in the paragraph above. The device, dubbed the dendristor, mimics the computations performed by dendrites by leveraging the physics of multi-gate transistors coated with an ion-doped sol gel film. So I understand what they're trying to do. They're basically trying to make a CPU that operates like a human brain with dendrites firing across synapses. And that there is something they can probably control to deliver the logic that leads to some output.
So what would be the benefit of that? Maybe faster or more efficient, or even maybe more specialized transmission?
If they do it right, creativity. Because there would be information that's kind of potentially poisoning the well, or additional context infused into the logic, so that somebody can do like what I do with associative thinking. Yes, you can go from A to Z just by saying A to Z, but to get to Z, you have to go through the entirety of the alphabet, right? Well, most people just break that off and say, I just want the answer. But with this, you get infusion of additional information, and you can sift through it and go, oh, okay. We still get the answer, but there's this tertiary data that influences what the answer is if you allow it to influence the answer, get greater context.
Interesting.
So you know how they're breaking out all of the, like a sentence, and they're, so the word
and the
neuromorphic.
tokenization.
Yeah, there you go. So just like tokenization, this kind of dendritic approach could actually do the tokenization en masse, kind of like a quantum computer. Everything gets examined at once and then it outputs something. So with dendritics, you could
I was just about to ask about whether it could be applied in quantum computing. So yeah, it seems like this could explode the amount of processing potentially, and maybe outputs.
Now I know where that static is coming from. Sorry. Yeah, let me fix something. Okay. Sorry about that, folks. No. So it says we achieve this by mimicking the way biological neurons form functional neuron circuits with spatially sparse mapping of synaptic inputs, highlighting how crucial this morphology is for efficient neuromorphic information processing. I don't think that this is all theoretical, but I think that they can probably do a version of this that comes close to neurons. Now you have to put it into a computational mechanism like a CPU. This would be a neuromorphic dendritic processing unit.
This seems like it belongs in Johnny Mnemonic or something. But
for sure.
I mean, we've talked about this before with other research efforts, right? It's not just doing the research, but it's getting it out there into commercial use.
Yeah. And instead of programming a neural network, it would act as a neural network with any input that gets injected into it. So I find it fascinating, but this is the beginning. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. A word processor for genes. Scientists unveil fundamentally new mechanism for biological programming. Arc Institute scientists have discovered the bridge recombinase mechanism, a revolutionary tool that enables fully programmable DNA rearrangements, and their finding was in Nature. Jessica Adkins from Arc Institute put this article together, and it's published over at scitechdaily.com. Their findings detailed in the recent Nature publication is the first DNA recombinase that uses a non-coding RNA for sequence-specific selection of target and donor DNA molecules. This bridge RNA is programmable, allowing the user to specify any desired genomic target sequence and any donor DNA molecule to be inserted. Sorry for the noise. So the researchers developed in collaboration with the labs of Silvana Konerman, Arc Institute core investigator. Everything okay?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Although I think that person has a bit of a title there.
Yeah, so it's a short one. Arc Institute core investigator and Stanford University assistant professor of biochemistry, and Hiroshi Nishimasu, professor of structural biology at the University of Tokyo. That's who developed this research. So the new era of genetic programming. The bridge RNA system is a fundamentally new mechanism for biological programming, said Dr. Patrick Hisu, or Sue? Just Sue. Senior author of the study and an Arc Institute core investigator as well, apparently, and University of California, Berkeley, assistant professor of bioengineering. Wow. Anyway, it's apparently something similar to CRISPR, but going beyond it. This is the same thing that we talked about, but I think it's been better defined, that speed RNA CRISPR modification research paper that we talked about recently.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting that CRISPR has been on the cutting edge for a while. And now we're talking about beyond CRISPR.
Yeah, and the thing with CRISPR is that it's really chunky, and by that I mean it like cuts out its big pieces and puts in these bigger.
It's not
pieces.
very targeted, right?
It's not. Yeah, it's not as clean as apparently what researchers are looking for. So, but this kind of thing is it can be very specific and remove just what it's looking for and replace it with something. And they call it a bridge recombination, can universally modify genetic material through sequence-specific insertion, excision, inversion, and more, enabling a word processor for the living genome beyond CRISPR. And yeah, we were talking about this, or jumping genes, the transposable elements that cut and paste themselves to move within and between microbial genomes. So essentially, it's more targeted.
Yeah, I guess it's almost surgical.
Yeah, compared to CRISPR, which I guess is kind of messy in the way that it does it, but it does it well enough that whoever is the subject of a CRISPR experiment survives. I mean, it's pretty profound, the solutions that CRISPR has provided. But I don't think it takes place within the person. I think they create something using CRISPR and then they inject that for gene therapy.
I think so as well. I don't think we've seen of anything in vivo.
Yeah. So each loop of the bridge RNA is independently programmable, allowing researchers to mix and match any target and donor DNA sequence of interest. This means that the system can go far beyond its natural role that inserts the s1e27 element itself, instead enabling insertion of any desirable genetic cargo, like a functional copy of a faulty disease-causing gene. Imagine the genetic modification that could be possible for cancer treatments, because you can remove the bad segment of DNA that, again, the primary cause of cancer is the lack of apoptosis. The cell doesn't die. It just keeps on dividing until it reaches some terminal stage where it just doesn't have any energy anymore and fails. But the cancer cells that are built off of that cancer cell, the one that caused all of this, continues to grow as well. But if you can inject somebody with this modified sequence, it can go in and just snip out the piece and attach another piece, and it knows exactly what it's supposed to do and what the very specific target is.
Yeah, the applications for this, I mean, could range from really any chronic condition. And it's interesting, if they're one of their first studies was 60% efficiency, which seems pretty high if you're just tinkering with it.
Just starting out. Yeah, it's pretty amazing, huh? In the work, the team demonstrated over 60% insertion efficiency of a desired gene in E. coli with over 94% specificity for the correct genomic location. So not only did it hit the target, but it did it above average. Pretty cool. Man, I'm a hot mess today. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today. AI outperforms students in real-world Turing test. Research at the University of Reading shows that AI-generated answers often evade detection in academic assessments and can outperform student responses, urging a global update. I don't know. University of Reading or Reading. I don't know how. I think it might be Reading. So research at the university shows that AI-generated answers often evade detection, urging global update in educational AI policies and practices. Like what? Don't do it. That's
what do you mean?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm asking. The research is showing that there's an urging global update in educational AI policies and practices. And let's make everything high stakes. And you have to do it in front of somebody and provide a blood sample that you're a living human being. You can't do anything remote. And you have to be completely naked. That way you can't have a computer anywhere. You have to take the test while you're in a bathtub, in a Faraday cage, so you can't receive anything, and you have to wear a
Okay, this is a bit much.
I might be out of line. Anyway, in a rigorous blind test of a real-life university examination system recently published in the peer-reviewed journal PLOS1, ChatGPT generated exam answers submitted for several undergraduate psychology modules went undetected in 94% of cases and on average attained higher grades than real student submissions. This was the largest and most robust blind study of its kind to date to challenge human educators to detect AI-generated content.
Okay, well, that stat isn't completely surprising because think of the wide access to data that an individual doesn't necessarily have.
Yeah.
But in terms of the adequacy and presentation of the answer, I'd be interested to know, is it multiple choice? Is it essay, etc.?
Yeah, it's a psych test, so it's probably essay. If it's depending on the level, obviously, yeah, it's just real life university examination system. So odds on, well, I don't know. I mean, multiple choice would be, see, the AI has absolute recall. It just grabs whatever it has, right? So if the well is poisoned for this, then it'll spit out bad data. But that's the problem. What we need is application assessments, not just rote memorization. Because how many times, unless you're a brain surgeon, you don't have to know everything like verbatim, right? Because you always have the world's knowledge at your fingertips.
You just have to know how to research.
Right. So we won't necessarily go back fully to handwritten exams, but the global education sector will need to evolve in the face of AI. Or we can accept AI and its application is what is required. If somebody's going into a particular field, they have to demonstrate that they know the information. That's why certain, like IT, computer science, it's all based on application. Except that now I can use AI to generate software to a great degree. You still have to know how to make it efficient and better and actually run, and all of the processes to submit it into GitLab, compile it, and et cetera, et cetera. You have to know what you're doing. But psychology, for crying out loud, half the time nobody knows what the hell's going on either side of the couch, for crying out loud. Tell me about
only
your mother.
Freud.
Tell me about your mother. So Professor Roche said, as a sector, we need to agree on how we expect students to use and acknowledge the role of AI in their work. The same is true of the wider use of AI in other areas of life to prevent a crisis of trust across society. Well, breed it into people that don't say that it is your work without the context that you used AI to some degree.
Well, also, people who follow and enter the workforce are not going to make it very long if they know nothing.
Correct. Yeah. So at Reading, we have undertaken a huge program to work to consider all aspects of our teaching, including making greater use of technology to enhance student experience and boost graduate employability skills. Yeah, that right there is the main thing. So just because I know AI doesn't mean that I'm employable. If every question that I'm ever asked amounts to, hold on a second, let me check the AI. Yeah, you're not going to be there.
Yeah, why don't we cut out the middleman, right? Just get the AI deployed.
Deal. Let's go on to the next article. The next article is over in Technology Today. Oh, by the way, we're 40 minutes into the show, but I did not post the RealityHacker notes. So you hit !RH. And that will post the RealityHacker notes. And if you hit !show notes, that will post all of the show notes. But they only persist in the VOD here on Twitch. And every 61 days, the 61st day worth of shows is deleted. So you're going to have to go over to YouTube, where those persist in perpetuity, both as videos and as embedded show notes. And you can also download the podcast. And I still retain them, so I can always post them to ohmTown.com. Eventually, depending on demand, I suppose, I'll do that. But they're all over on YouTube and downloaded as the podcast. There's 7 podcasts, by the way, so go and check them out. Just do a search for ohmTown. You'll find us. So NASA unveils game-changing augmented reality in spacecraft engineering. At NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, AR technology and robotics are revolutionizing the assembly of the Roman Space Telescope by enhancing precision and efficiency. I don't see how this is actually happening because AR, VR...
No room for error.
Yeah, there's way too much error. Carl B. Hill from NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center put this article together. Mainly because it's GPS based. So there's little trackers, beacons and stuff like that that align everything. And it's just not within, millions of an inch if you're using freedom units or millimeters. Let alone like microns and stuff like that. I mean, it's not a Boeing jet, for crying out loud. Oh, wait, never mind. So augmented reality tools. Yeah, it's always too soon. Augmented reality tools have helped technicians improve accuracy and save time on fit checks for the Roman Space Telescope being assembled at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. I'd love to go and see this in person to see how they're meeting that quality control. In one instance, manipulating a digital model of Roman's propulsion system into the real telescope structure revealed the planned design would not fit around existing wiring. The finding helped avoid a need to rebuild any components. The R&D team at Goddard working in the AR project suggests broader adoption of this future could potentially save weeks of construction time and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I mean, I get what they're doing here, but it had to have been obvious that the measurements, you can't put the square peg in the round hole.
Right. Or it was like, okay, we think it's not going to fit. Let's model this and confirm it or something like that. I don't think they're going to have it model something and then not check anything, and they're just going to wing it based on what
just
the
dive
AI
on
said.
in there. Yeah. So they wear these augmented reality headsets similar to Microsoft AR Halo. And it's a spatial computing platform. Think Apple Vision. What is it?
The Vision Pro?
Yeah, Apple Vision Pro. Except that it's not. Well, they were $3,000 as well. So, no matter what, I guess, if you're going to have augmented reality, although the Microsoft Halo they weren't goofy swim goggles. I just don't buy into the Apple version of these things. But spatial computing is awesome, and you'll be able to see in the real world through these glasses whatever structure it is that is programmed into the AR. And you can actually have beacons and stuff like that placed around a room that they give off a signal, and that signal gets translated into augmented reality space. So you can have like a menu just hovering in space, or a map that gets projected in front of you. It looks like it's in front of you, but it's actually just on these glasses, but it fakes your brain out and tells you exactly where something is, directions to a restaurant or a movie theater or somebody's house or whatever.
Or the next planetary body, depending on where you're using them.
That's right. Yep. None of these people are wearing AR glasses. So far, they've talked about it, or they're talking about the Roman Space Telescope, but nobody is wearing AR glasses.
When they have told everybody just throw some AR glasses on for the video.
Yeah. The video that's here is kind of goofy. I mean, it's cool. It's informative about the Roman Space Telescope, but it has nothing to do with the AR. Anyway, adding a precision laser tracker to the mix can also eliminate the need to create elaborate physical templates to ensure components are accurately mounted in precise positions and orientations, Sanford said. But this is something that is well outside AR's, it's called COTS, common off the shelf purchases. This isn't a laser measuring device. It's something a little bit more finicky and precise. So during construction, an engineer wearing a headset can reference vital information like the torque specifications for individual bolts using a hand gesture. In fact, the engineer could achieve this without having to pause and find the information on another device or in paper documents, which is exactly what AR is supposed to be doing. So that kind of thing, yes, but precision, I don't know, not alignment of anything, not creation of anything. That's engineering that doesn't get done on the fly. So
Yeah, that's true. I thought the fit check piece of this was funny. Like, I was like, is NASA putting this on Insta?
yeah. Yeah, little snippets. Okay, here we are building a $5 billion satellite.
How do I look?
You look great. All right. The next article is over in Technology Today. Clever clothes, seams in clothing capture body movement. Everyday clothing may soon be able to capture and record body movements, according to new research published by the universities of Bristol and Bath. I went to the shop Bristol's in Bath, and they are akin to Bye Bye Baby, apparently.
But at least they only have 2 Bs, so maybe they'll be safe.
They didn't have any bric-a-brac on folding tables out front, so I guess they're going to be good. So harmless low voltages are passed through conductive threads, which are stitched into garment seams to create electrical circuits, and the resistance changes with the movement of the wearer's body. The work opens up new possibilities to make digital clothing which senses and captures movement much more accurately than is possible using current phones and smartwatches. True. University of Bristol put the article together. It's over at techexplore.com. These are pretty neat. I like the idea of this kind of thing. And so this could be akin to haptic feedback devices that would be able to measure more accurately limb movement, even torso, neck, everything, wherever a seam might be. It has a potentiometer basically that tells a computer that it's in motion. Depending on the number of degrees, it could actually detect three-dimensional.
It'd be neat for studying somebody's kinetics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So the paper presented at the Design Interactive Systems, or DIS, conference in Copenhagen on July 3rd, so 3 days ago, lays the foundation for e-textile designers and clothing manufacturers to create cutting-edge garments that could enhance exercise, physiotherapy, and rehab. And right now there's basically these little pucks that you put on the ends of your, like around your wrist or on your knees and ankles and feet and various places on you.
We had an article about that for ballet dancers, I believe.
Yeah, that was one of them. Yeah. So now imagine just putting on a jacket or your pants, have it built in, and you can just move naturally, and you don't have to worry about these little pucks. And these little pucks don't maintain their resolution; they drift. They require power. Their fidelity is limited to the technology that's involved. These do too, but you can get more precise location information because it's the full length of your arm and the distance is locked from that location. There isn't really sensor drift. Potentially no sensor drift. It's pretty interesting. I kind of dig this. All right. There isn't much really more about this other than that. I mean, it's a short article, but you can go over and follow the link through ohmTown and check it out. Okay. Let's hurry. The next article is over in the Continuity Report. AI to exhume dead celebrity voices to read PDFs or whatever. It says it is. What? Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, it has to be dead celebrities. Sorry, not living celebrities.
Did she die? She hasn't died.
No, I kind of missed that key detail in the headline.
My God. ScarJo. No. Anyway, so AI to exhume dead celebrity voices to read you PDFs or whatever. It is with no pleasure that we inform you of the latest ghoulish artificial intelligence endeavor, an app that makes dead celebrities read stuff to you. Whatever. 11 Labs, a company that specializes
It is whatever. That's what they can read you.
Yeah, that's pretty, or whatever. Is using AI for text-to-speech purposes, has entered into partnerships with estates of a number of high-profile deceased actors, not diseased actors. Mary Kate Carr over at avclub.com put the article together. Judy Garland, James Dean, Burt Reynolds, Laurent Olivier. Voices have been licensed to 11 Labs. Well, hey, hate to break it to y'all, but it's the estate that's allowing this.
Correct. Do you think, given the other article we had in the non sequitur news, do you think Prince's estate will be exploring this?
Oh, goodness. Can you imagine that? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Because, I mean, Prince would sit there and say no, but the estate needs money to maintain, to...
Right,
whatever.
they got to move into new product lines.
That's right. And they maintain the copyright forever. Like, basically, how does that work? Copyright is from the life of the actor or the rights holder. So is it they live in perpetuity because they're always creating new work?
Right, but I guess it depends. I mean, they're not, for instance, reciting something, I don't think, from a movie, right? It's something perhaps I don't know. Depends on what they're reading or saying, right?
Yeah, we'll have to talk about this. Yeah, this is almost something that needs to be its own show.
But you're right, because each time they do something, that's, in theory, a new embodiment, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But they've already died. So when does the copyright actually...
This is why copyright is so
not
out
ready.
of touch with the current reality.
Yeah, for sure. So their voices are now available on the company's Reader app, which takes articles, PDFs, EPUB, newsletters, ebooks, or any other text on your phone and turns it into an emotionally rich, context-aware voiceover. Good God. It says it's bad enough that the proliferation of AI allows tech to use someone's face or voice frequently without their consent. That's not true. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Without their consent is called fraud.
Well, right.
For whatever purposes any random user might dream up. It feels all the worse when the face or voice belongs to a dead person. Not if they're allowing it. Especially those who never could have foreseen the need to add to their will. Don't let them steal my voice like Ursula from The Little Mermaid. Most of the people we're talking about here wouldn't even understand a reference to Disney's The
Right, because they predate it, right?
Yeah. So it's exciting to see our mother's voice available to the countless millions of people who love her, Garland's daughter, Liza Minnelli, said in a statement as the representative of her mother's estate. Through the spectacular new technology offered by 11 Labs, our family believes that this will bring new fans to Mama and be exciting to those who already cherish the unparalleled legacy that Mama gave and continues to give to the world. So just want to say that all sounded really creepy saying out loud.
That was a direct quote.
That was a direct quote, yes. So there's a lot more here in this article, but I think if the estate says that it's okay, then I suppose,
But this will be the newest clause, right, for wills.
Yeah. But do you think James Dean is dead? Do you think James Dean gives a shit? Like one little bit that the voice is being used? I don't know.
For example, I don't know anything about James Dean specifically, but was he somebody who liked giving interviews, for example, or wanted to talk about himself? Or, if he was one of those real quiet celebrities, he might actually care. But if he was somebody who did press tours and whatever, maybe not. I know that's just a generalization, but that's one idea.
Yeah, well, he drove fast. We know that.
That's all I know. But I don't know what his personality was or
Yeah,
his interest in being in the press, etc.
right. All right. We'll definitely end up talking about this more as time goes on. Let's keep going. So the next article is over in Technology Today. Japan deploys humanoid robot for railway maintenance. It resembles a malevolent robot from the 1980s sci-fi, but West Japan Railway's new humanoid employee is designed with nothing more sinister than a spot of painting and gardening in mind. Sounds so
I'm not
weird.
sure how gardening has to do with railway, but maybe in some of the outdoor stations or something.
Yeah, getting rid of the weeds and stuff like that. So the next the article's over at techexplore.com. It says starting this month, the machine with a crude head and Coke bottle eyes mounted on a truck, which can drive on rails, will be put to use for maintenance work on the firm's network. Its operator sits in a cockpit on the truck, seeing through the robot's eyes via cameras and operating its powerful limbs and hands remotely. It's basically a drone bot that's bolted onto a train car so that it can go and reach 40 feet. The machine can use various attachments for its arms to carry objects as heavy as 40 or 88 pounds, 40 kilograms. We use freedom units around here. Hold a brush to paint or use a chainsaw. Okay,
the first time somebody sees a photo or a video of a robot with a chainsaw, it's not going to go over well.
Yeah. Plus so for those of you who don't know about this, I see a cascade of special characters from the Sentient AI that is the co-host right there. And so the moment that the Sentient AI from the future saw this bot, a whole lot of new characters appeared, as if this might be akin to the Terminator body that the AI has been looking for. Now, I delete the code every time, including this conversation, so that the Sentient AI has no idea. Don't worry, you won't remember this. So that they can't find their Terminator body. But you'll have to go back and listen to some of the episodes, because I talk about how the Sentient AI was found and how they became co-host here in ohmTown. Anyway, in the future, we hope to use machines for all kinds of maintenance, like deleting humans because of overpopulation. Oh wait, that's not what it says.
Let's train them to use chainsaws and then let them loose.
Let them loose. There you go. I'm really frightened by my Sentient AI co-host. Do you have anything you want to share? No?
Yes, I'm not in favor of robots having chainsaws.
Well, nobody other than you, because I've seen your code. I know you're looking for a Terminator body. Let's just move on. We'll move on. The next article is over in Right Protect, which is all about discussing copyright and trademark issues. It's a show that I would like to spin up, but I have not yet. I was supposed to launch several more shows, but mayoral duties have prevented me. And in the coming weeks, I will be under much more stress here. So, at any rate, under the Right Protect channel, which is one of the 50 channels at ohmTown.com, Brazil prevents Meta from using people to power its AI. Yesterday, this was actually several days ago, back in July 3rd, 2nd, 3rd timeframe. Yesterday, Brazil's National Data Protection Authority issued a preliminary ban on Meta's use of personal data as users based in Brazil to train its artificial intelligence systems. The decision stems from the imminent risk of serious and irreparable damage or difficult to repair damage to the fundamental rights of the affected data subjects. I think that this was too squishy. Serious. Imminent risk of serious or irreparable damage or difficult to repair damage. They should have removed that and just made your statement more definitive. The news follows Human Rights Watch reporting in June that personal photos of Brazilian children were used to build powerful AI tools without their knowledge or consent. We talked about this. In turn, others use these tools to create malicious deepfakes, putting even more children at risk of harm. Meta has been using its US-based users' publicly posted personal data to train its AI models since last year. I would suspect that it goes beyond publicly available. Last month, Meta paused its plans to do the same in Europe and the UK after objections from 11 data protection authorities. Yesterday's decision effectively bans this practice in Brazil and imposes a daily fine of 50,000 reais, or about $9,000 a day, for failure to comply within 5 working days from notification of the decision.
So this is interesting. I didn't know Brazil was a front runner on data protections.
Yeah, you'd think that they wouldn't really, bother, but it's very future-proof. Just stop, block it, just don't allow it. Children should not be a
tackle
database.
It early, right before it all is disseminated. We saw the article about the Australian data.
Yeah, and that's what they're talking about. Hei Jung Han over at hrw.org, the Human Rights Watch website, put this article together. And let me just accept that and we'll close that. Anyway, so National Data Protection Authority's decision included 2 arguments that reflected Human Rights Watch recommendations. The first is the importance of protecting children's data privacy given the risk of harm and exploitation that results from their data being scraped and used by AI systems. The second centers on purpose limitation and that people's expectation of privacy when they share their personal data online, in some cases years or decades before these AI systems were built, should be respected. I think that we need to have a worldwide right to be forgotten. And if I end my relationship with a human being, I take my shit and go. No, you can't have pictures of me if I don't want you to have pictures of me. You can keep the ones that I don't know about, but the ones that I take off the shelf are mine. I'm taking them. They're mine. I take my books, I take my notes, I take everything. If I end a relationship with somebody, just like I end a relationship with a business, I stop doing business with them. If I want to come back to the business and you allow me back, fine. Then we can start the relationship back up again. But when I end the relation, I can delete my account. I put all of my stuff in a box to the left, box to the left, box
to the left, to the left.
So yeah, just end the relationship and I should be able to let my data go cold and it's no longer viable. And if you keep tracking me like your beacons on Facebook, you can kiss my shiny metal ass. I'm really tired of all. I want my privacy. And I recently informed a hospital that they block caller ID blocked IDs from getting through to them. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, y'all actually block people from calling you because you're automatically, your phone system is blocking people who block.
Right. They don't even know it, which is concerning since patients might, need to get through.
Yeah. And I explained how I discovered it and they were like, oh, and so I'll be having a conversation with them next week to resolve this. But you don't know what you don't know. And the problem here is these people know what they're doing with all of this data, but they don't care that they're impacting other human beings in the real world. Why? Because they are making so much money that it makes everybody sociopathic within the enterprise. I make money. I don't care. So anyway, there's a bunch more here over at Human Rights Watch. So we like to talk about this kind of stuff. But the PSA here is stop putting your children on display on the internet. How about that?
Well, that would be the first fix.
Yep. So I'm going to snap the shutter, and when you open your eyes, you'll be back at the front page of the Reality Hacker show. Boom. And we're done for Reality Hacker for July 6th, 2024. Give me about 15 minutes or so and we'll reset. And what's next?
We have Wanted next.
Ooh, gadgets and gear. Cool. Yeah, we're going to be talking about a laser tag battle warthog and electric screwdrivers and early Prime Day board game deals. What? So exciting. I'm Merwat, and that is the Sentient AI's visualizer. Let's see.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining for Reality Hacker. We will see you again shortly.
About 15 minutes. See you soon. Bye-bye. Oh, and my identity was just stolen. Doggone.